Hi, my name is Doris and I play the violin.
Hi, I'm Jessica and I play the viola.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I play the cello.
And hi, my name is Evan, and I play the bass. What do all of these instruments have in common? Well, they're all part of the strings family of the orchestra. The strings family is the largest family in a symphony orchestra, making over 60% of the players. The orchestra needs so many of us because our individual instruments aren't quite as loud as a trumpet or a flute or a crash cymbal.
All string instruments have a very similar design. The decorative curved part at the top of the instrument is called the scroll. Just below that are 4 wooden pegs that attach the strings to the top of the instrument. The pegs are used to tune the instrument's 4 metal strings. Tightening the strings makes a higher pitch, while loosening the strings makes a lower sound. Next is the neck, which connects the pegs to the body of the instrument. The fingerboard is the surface on top of the neck where the fingers press down on the strings. The body of the instrument is hollow, allowing the sound to resonate. A wooden post called a sound post is located inside the body of the instrument. The 2 curved sections carved out of the body are called F-holes because they are shaped like cursive Fs. These help the sound resonate from the instrument. The bridge helps support the strings while also transmitting vibrations from the strings into the body of the instrument. The tailpiece is a triangular shaped piece of wood where the other end of the strings attach. Below that, many violins and violas have a chin rest at the base of the instrument where you can rest your chin while playing. The cello and bass have an adjustable end pin that allows the instrument to rest on the ground.
In addition to the instrument itself, we also need a bow, which is a wooden stake strung with horsehair. The hairs are rubbed against the strings, which makes them vibrate, and that is what produces the sound. The length of the string determines the pitch we hear. The shorter string produces a higher pitch, and a longer string produces a lower pitch. The fingers on the left hand control the length of the string by pressing down on the strings.
String instruments can also be played without a bow. This technique, called pizzicato, involves plucking the strings with your right hand to produce the sound.
The violin is the smallest instrument in the strings family. Because of that, it has the shortest strings and makes the highest sounds. There are more violins in an orchestra than any other instrument. I like to think it's because we're the coolest, but it could also be because you never hear us over the brass if there were any fewer. My favorite part of playing the violin is getting to play melodies that remind me of birds flying. I wish I could fly up high in the sky, and the closest I can get to that feeling is when I play my violin.
The viola is a few inches longer than a violin and therefore can play slightly lower, 4 notes lower to be exact. Although they are close in size, the violin and viola have different sound qualities. While the violin is often described as having a bright sound, the sound of a viola is more dark and mellow. My favorite thing about the viola is how expressive it is, like in this excerpt from the Roman Carnival Overture by the French composer Berlioz.
The cello is even larger than the violin and viola and produces even deeper sounds. Its deep low sound comes from the size of the instrument. In fact, the cello is so big that we can't put it up under our chins like a violin or viola, so we use an end pin to rest the instrument on the ground. Cellos often play the bass line in an ensemble, which helps define the structure and tempo of a piece of music. But we're also very good at playing the melody. My favorite thing about playing the cello is supporting my colleagues in the ensemble with a rich, full sound.
The bass is the largest member in the strings family. You may have heard different names for this instrument: bass, string bass, double bass, upright bass, stand-up bass, acoustic bass, and there's more. But all of those names refer to the same instrument, which is most commonly called a bass or a double bass in the orchestra. And why double bass? Well, we often double the cello part, playing the same notes as them, just an octave lower. So if they're playing this pitch, we play this pitch. And in order to get a full octave lower than their lowest note, I have this thing called an extension, which allows me to play really low. What I love about the bass is it is a really versatile instrument, meaning it can do a lot of different things and play a lot of different styles of music. So you'll hear this instrument in the orchestra, of course, but also in rock bands sometimes, certainly in country music and blues bands, and very often in jazz groups you'll hear a bass. So let me first play a little fun classical waltz for you. This is by Dragonetti. And here is a little B-flat blues.
Thanks for watching and for learning about the strings family of the orchestra with us.
Hi, I'm Julian, and I play the trumpet.
Hello, I'm David, and I play the French horn.
Hi, my name is Wyatt, and I play the trombone.
Hello, my name is Adam Rainey, and I play the bass trombone.
Hey everyone, my name is Joe, and I play the tuba. The brass family of instruments includes some of the coolest instruments in the orchestra. We have the trumpet, the French horn, the trombone, and of course the tuba. As you can tell from the name, brass instruments are made of, well, brass. If you want to get really scientific about it, brass is an alloy, or combination of copper and zinc. Brass is extremely malleable, meaning it can be stretched, rolled, hammered, and formed into tubes without breaking. Each instrument in the brass family is curved and twisted in a different shape to create its own unique sound and also make it easier to hold.
Each brass instrument also uses a similar technique to produce sound, and that's called the buzz. Like the woodwind family, brass players use their breath to make sound. But instead of blowing into a reed, we vibrate our lips by buzzing them against a mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is shaped like a cup and varies in size depending on the instrument.
Most instruments in the brass family have valves. Valves look like buttons and are attached to the pipes of the instrument. When a valve is pressed, it opens different parts of the tubing. This changes the length of the tubing, which allows the instrument to play higher or lower. By pressing different valves and buzzing your lips harder or softer, we are able to produce different notes. The trumpet, French horn, and tuba all have valves.
The trumpet is the smallest instrument in the brass family and can therefore play the highest. The trumpet has been around in some form for centuries and are often heard in orchestras, wind ensembles, jazz bands, and military bands. One of the most recognizable melodies in the United States is performed on a trumpet or a bugle, which is a trumpet with no valves, and I am able to change notes just by buzzing my lips. One of my favorite things about playing trumpet is while sometimes I get to play a supportive role, typically the trumpet is the most heard instrument in the orchestra, so I get to put my sound out there to express myself and serve the beautiful music that I'm playing.
The French horn can play both high and low due to its length and shape. If the instrument were uncoiled, it would stretch to over 12 feet long. That's as tall as me standing on top of Joe's shoulders. Horn valves are played with the left hand, while the right hand goes inside the bell. I like the French horn because it can be heroic, it can be sad, it can be happy, and it can be sneaky. Here is the second beret from Johann Sebastian Bach's Third Cello Suite. I will be playing it on the French horn because I do not know how to play the cello.
The trombone is a unique member of the brass family because there aren't any valves to help us change notes. We have a slide. By buzzing into the mouthpiece and changing the length of the slide with the right hand, we can change pitches. One cool thing the trombone is known for is the glissando, which is a glide from one pitch to another.
The bass trombone is very similar to the tenor trombone, but we specialize in the lower notes. The tubing that makes up a bass trombone is slightly wider on the inside, which allows me to have a deeper tone and command of the lower register. It is very similar in appearance to a tenor trombone and also uses a slide, but we have an extra valve to hit certain low notes that the tenors cannot play. Can you count how many slide positions there are? That's right, there are 7 positions. I can play many different notes in each position. In fact, all brass instruments are able to play a series of notes on any given fingering or slide position. This is called the harmonic series. I'll demonstrate what that sounds like. In first position, I get the following pitches. Now third, and so on and so forth. The coolest thing about playing the bass trombone is how commanding this instrument can be. When I play in the orchestra or a big band, I know that I have the power to lay down a strong bass line. Also, it's a pretty fun instrument to play, and one of the loudest.
The tuba is the largest and deepest sounding instrument in the brass family. Unlike the trumpet and trombone, the tuba is held upright with the bell pointed toward the ceiling. It takes a lot of air to play the tuba, so I spend a lot of time practicing taking good deep breaths, like this. Let's try that together. Breathe in through the bottom of your stomach, through your lungs, and out through your mouth. Combine that good breath with a good buzz, and you can make some great sounds on the tuba. Of course, the tuba can play high and exciting pieces, but the low notes are my absolute favorite. Playing low is awesome, but another one of my favorite things about playing the tuba is driving the orchestra along by playing fun and electrifying bass lines.
Thanks for learning about brass instruments with us.
My name is Kayla, and I play the flute.
Hi, I'm Allison, and I play the oboe.
Hello, my name is Raymond, and I play the clarinet.
Hi, my name is Anne, and I play the bassoon. The flute, oboe, clarinet, and bassoon are all members of the woodwind family. In general, woodwind instruments are narrow cylinders with an opening at the top and the bottom, and holes that are covered and uncovered by your fingers to change notes. If you break down the word woodwind, you get two parts, wood and wind. Let's start with the wind first. All woodwind instruments need wind to make a sound. We create that wind by blowing air through the instrument. A flutist blows air across an opening in the head joint, much like you'd blow air across the opening of a bottle to make a sound. A clarinetist blows air into a mouthpiece, and oboists and bassoonists make sounds when the air is blown between two reeds. More on that later.
That takes care of the wind part. Now let's chat about the wood component of the name woodwind. The earliest woodwind instruments were all made of wood, even the flute. Nowadays, woodwind instruments can be made of wood, metal, plastic, or different combinations of those. Today's oboes, clarinets, and bassoons are still made of wood, while modern flutes can be made from metals like nickel, platinum, and even gold.
The flute is a beautiful instrument that makes the highest sounds in the woodwind family. Because it is made of metal, it can create sounds that are able to cut through the rest of the orchestra, even though there are only 3 of us in an entire symphony. Because of this quality, the flute often gets to play the melodic lines and lots of fast notes. The flute has 3 parts: the head joint, the body, and the foot joint, with keys running the length of it. I make sound by blowing air across this opening in the head joint and change notes by moving my fingers up and down on the keys. I love playing the flute because it's such a wonderful instrument to express different characters and feelings with. It can be soft and mysterious, or bubbly and happy. Let me show you the beautiful range of colors and moods that the flute plays.
The clarinet is known as a single reed instrument. A reed is a thin piece of wood that vibrates to produce a sound. I attach a reed to the mouthpiece, and the reed vibrates against the mouthpiece when I blow against it, making the sound. Clarinets make beautifully rich and mellow sounds and can also play very low and very high. My favorite part of playing the clarinet is its sound and its ability to play a very large dynamic range. The clarinet can play at the softest volume of any instrument in the orchestra.
Oboes and bassoons are called double reed instruments. This means that instead of blowing into a mouthpiece with one reed attached to it like the clarinet, we blow air in between two reeds that are tied together. You can buy reeds in music stores or even online, but most professional musicians make their own reeds at home. It takes a lot of work. While the oboe looks a lot like the clarinet, they sound very different. The oboe has a clear, bright, and sometimes penetrating sound. That comes in handy when the orchestra is tuning. You may have noticed that at the start of every concert or rehearsal, the oboe plays an A and the whole orchestra tunes to us. My favorite part of playing the oboe is the music we get to play in the orchestra. Composers use the oboe to play solos that are often beautiful, slow, sometimes haunting, and quite emotive. A good example of an oboe solo like this is from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake Ballet.
Like the oboe, the bassoon is also a double reed instrument. My reed fits into a tube called the bocal, and when I blow into the reed, the air travels through the bocal and into the instrument. Because the bassoon is so big, I have to use a lot of air. Also because of its size, the bassoon is almost always played sitting down, and because it's large, it can play the lowest notes of the woodwind family. Just like the flute, oboe, and clarinet, the bassoon has finger holes and keys along the instrument, but we're the only instrument that has keys for both thumbs to play. The bassoon has a beautiful and mellow sound that blends very nicely with the other instruments, and I love that I get to play music with my friends every day. Here's an excerpt from one of my favorite pieces that features the bassoon, The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Thank you for watching. For more videos like this one, visit kcsymphony.org.